This year, we celebrate what would have been the 100th birthday of Dame Angela Lansbury, a woman whose voice, presence, and spirit defined generations of theater, cinema, and television. From Gaslight in the 1940s to Beauty and the Beast in the 1990s to the timeless Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury's work crossed eras, styles, and audiences. But behind every role, there was a woman, graceful, grounded, and endlessly curious. Today, we'll honor her through 6 of her most meaningful quotes, each one a window into her life, her values, and her journey, plus a final word from Jessica Fletcher herself, the character that became her second soul. Quote 1. Bringing humor and bringing happiness and joy to an audience is a wonderful opportunity in life, believe me. Angela said this during an interview in the late 1980s when Murder, She Wrote was at the peak of its success. Despite worldwide fame, she insisted that her mission was simple: to bring joy. She had started her career in noir thrillers like Gaslight and The Picture of Dorian Gray, playing complex, often dark women. But as she matured, she wanted to give audiences something lighter, something hopeful. Jessica Fletcher was her answer to that wish. A woman who could face death every week on screen, yet still make viewers feel safe, even comforted. Angela believed laughter and kindness were not weakness, but forms of strength. And that's exactly what she gave us, week after week, mystery after mystery. Quote 2. I honestly consider that the greatest gift to me is the reaction that I get from my work. That is a given which I never ever take for granted. This quote came during her Tony Award acceptance speech in 2009. At that point, she had already received 5 Tonys, a record few have matched. Yet what struck everyone that night wasn't her success. It was her humility. She spoke not about her own brilliance, but about gratitude. How every applause, every letter, every moment of connection with the audience felt like a blessing. Angela had known rejection and hardship. She lost her father as a child, and in her early career she was often typecast in supporting roles. That's why she never took success for granted. She knew exactly what it cost, and what it meant to finally be seen. Quote 3. Here I am. I still go on, you know, like the tides. Angela said this in her 80s, reflecting on her longevity in show business. By then, most of her contemporaries had long retired, but she was still performing, still rehearsing, still hungry to learn. Her career had spanned over 70 years, from MGM's golden era to Broadway revivals. She had survived Hollywood's shifting tides, ageism, sexism, and the end of the studio system, by simply staying true to who she was: steady, adaptable, humble. That's what she meant by like the tides. A quiet persistence, not loud rebellion. She didn't fight the waves. She moved with them. And in doing so, she endured. Quote 4. I believe age should not stop you from keeping on. Angela often said this while filming Murder, She Wrote. She was nearly 60 years old when she first played Jessica Fletcher, an age when Hollywood typically stops writing roles for women. Instead, she proved that experience and intelligence could be just as magnetic as youth. The show ran for 12 seasons and became one of the most beloved series in television history. What she taught us, both on and off screen, was that reinvention has no deadline, that passion, curiosity, and kindness don't fade with time. In her 60s, she found her greatest role. In her 80s, she was still performing on Broadway. And in her 90s, she was still smiling, still learning lines, still keeping on. Quote 5. I rest, I take a nap, I don't eat stupidly. I take care of the body. That's very important when you get to a certain age. I'm the bionic woman. I've got knees, hips, everything is new. She said this with a laugh in a 2014 interview at the age of 88. By then, she had undergone multiple surgeries, yet refused to slow down. Angela approached aging with humor and self-awareness. She didn't chase youth. She embraced her evolution. Her bionic woman comment wasn't vanity. It was victory. She had outlived expectations, outlasted limitations, and rebuilt herself, literally and spiritually. Her secret was balance, rest, discipline, self-respect. Because to her, the body was not a temple. It was a tool for purpose. The better you cared for it, the longer you could serve your art, your audience, and your joy. Quote 6. I've had an incredible relationship with my husband, with my family. I know they've had problems of their own, but we have never wavered in our closeness as a family. I've had a hell of a life. Angela's personal life wasn't without struggle. Her husband, Peter Shaw, was her partner in life and in business. They were married for over 50 years. But her children, Anthony and Deirdre, faced challenges in the 1960s, drawn into the darker sides of the counterculture scene. Angela made a brave and unconventional choice. She left Hollywood, moved the family to Ireland, and started over. Far from fame, she rebuilt their lives with patience and love. When she said, "I've had a hell of a life," it wasn't boastful. It was honest. She had known success and heartbreak, glamour and grief. But through it all, she never lost her empathy or her dignity. And maybe that was her greatest performance. Not Jessica Fletcher, not Mrs. Potts, but being Angela every single day. bonus quote. Jessica Fletcher once said, "There's always a story behind the story. You just have to be curious enough to find it." That line, spoken by Jessica Fletcher, feels like something Angela herself would have written. Curiosity was her secret weapon. On screen, it solved murders. In life, it solved fear. She believed that if you stay curious about people, about art, about life itself, you never truly grow old. You keep discovering, you keep learning, and you keep finding beauty in places most people stop looking. That's what made her roles feel real. The curiosity, the empathy, the ability to see the story behind the story. Angela Lansbury passed away in 2022, just 5 days before her 97th birthday. But her words, her laughter, and her legacy remain timeless. She taught us that age is not the enemy, that kindness is strength, that a good life is not one without hardship, but one filled with curiosity, gratitude, and grace. So as we celebrate her centenary, let's carry forward her lesson. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep bringing joy. Happy 100th, Angela. And thank you for showing us how to live with elegance, humor, and heart.